Okay, so this week there's you have your lab due tonight. There's also the exam on Friday. So the exam is definitely more important, but definitely since the lab is due on Monday, you should still be able to get that done and turned in before the exam. The first thing we're going to go over is the exam stuff, since that's new this week. If you want to go over some lab 1 stuff, lab 7 stuff, we could do that by watching the video from last week, but I'll cover any extra questions you guys have about that after we go through this. Also, if there's any other review stuff for exam 1 that someone wants to go over, just put in chat specifically and I'll go like over that specifically. But if not, we're going to do like last time where we just go through this whole thing. And every once in a while, I'll have you guys do a question specifically. It's like this one, we'll have you guys do question 4. Okay, so zoom in. Okay, so arrays. What is the output of the following program? Public static void main, so it's just a main, basic. 2 arrays initialized. One is A set equal to that array there, and then one is B set equal to A. And remember with arrays, if you tried to like print just A, it would give you a random jargon of characters. That's the memory address of A. And so when you set B equal to A, let me get a different color. Pick a line. So yeah, when you set B equal to A, that's setting the memory addresses equal to each other. So this is called copying by reference. So now if you make any changes to B, the change happens to A. Oh, however, right here, next thing that happens just after, it's like we're trying to trick you. We say A equals new int this. So since we're doing that, now with the new keyword that assigns, that's a new memory address entirely. So the change to A with that does not happen to B, because A is now assigned to something completely different from what B is still pointing to this original array. So B is pointing to the storing that original array. A is now storing this new array. So A3 equals 2, 0, 1, 2, 3. So it's this 15 value is now 2. And then for int I, for each I and B, for each int I and B, print out I plus a space. So B is storing this array. So not this one down here. So it should be 11, 22, 10, 8. So I picked A there. And then if we go to the solutions, there you go. Solution is A. And without anyone having any questions in like the chat or something, if someone wants me to slow down, just put in the chat. What's up, Ernesto? The question was, if we modify B, would that modify A too? Before this point, if you had done B like 1 equals 10, that would have modified what A is at this specific time. However, the fact that we did this right here, A is now storing a different array entirely. That new keyword means it's a new memory address. Okay. So now after this point, any changes to B would not change A. Ernesto said it's a whole new thing. Yes. Okay. Clear all that. Okay, which of the following would return null? So public class, so this is just public, so I guess they wrote a whole class for this, sure. Public static void main, string R's. Int 2-dimensional matrix equals new int 5, 3, so that's got 5 rows. And each of these is 3 elements. Matrix 0 equals new int 1, 3, 4. Matrix 1 equals new int length 5. So now it's just a new one, length 5. Matrix 2 equals new int 12, 23, 11, and then 3, 4. I don't think either of those. So I think the trick, I know the trick here is like, are these arrays initialized with elements or not? And I'm fairly certain they are because it's got a size of 3 there. But the trick would, so I could see 3, it's definitely not 1 or 2, because 1 or 2 were explicitly declared there. And then 4 wasn't, so it could be that. But if it's either of these, it's both of them. So it's not both of those. So it's either none of the above, or it's either D or E. But I would say it's E. If we go, so, and the reason why I'm saying it's E is because it's already initialized to length 3 there. So it wouldn't be null. And if we go, what? The question was, if they're initialized, they return 0. No, I think they would return a memory address. But let's go just look at the answers. So yeah, E, none of the above. So the fact that we put 2 dimensions here, there, I don't know what the fuck is causing that, means that the arrays are initialized. Okay, you need to stop. Whatever it is causing that. The fact that it was initialized as a rectangular array with a second dimension means that the arrays are initialized inside of it. If it was just new int 5 without this 3 here, then 3 and 4 would be null. Does that make sense? Okay. Next question. Which of the following would return null? Oh, hey, look at that. Yep, 3 and 4 would store memory addresses. And we can even, we can go look at it. I was just thinking about. And here's a calce, sure. So yeah, if in here, we just copied over the main from here. Here, let's copy over this one. Let's hope this works. Dope. Okay. So there with the 5, 3, and then if we did system out for loop for I matrix dot length, and then it's system dot out dot print line matrix I. There we go. Run that. So we'd get random memory addresses right there. So everything stores weird memory addresses. Now, if we had the next question, question 3, where there isn't a second dimension, now they're uninitialized. We know it's a matrix of matrices because it's a 2-dimensional one right there, but the second dimension isn't initialized. So if we run this, there we go. Now those first three are initialized right here because we initialized them by hand, but the other 0, 1, 2, so 3 and 4 are null. So yeah, right here, when I ask which one would return null, matrix 3 would. Yeah, technically it would be 3 and 4, but that's not an option here. So just matrix 3. One thing to note is that right here, it's a lot easier because we give you two questions, one after another, that they are the exact same. One just has the second mention, one doesn't. However, in the exam, I guess they're not the exact same, but however, in the exam, that's not gonna happen. It's not gonna be that simple. So we're probably only gonna give you one of these and you have to figure it out without any context clues from multiple questions. So just make sure you know that. Okay, question 4. What is the output of the following program? I'm gonna leave this to you guys. Just like last time, I'm gonna wait until I get half the number of answers there are people. So I want 3 answers. You can DM them or send them in public. I don't care which one, but everyone do this. Actually, and Ernesto's here, so he's a 7, but that's still 3. So do this problem by yourself, write it out, walk through it. Actually, I'll say I want DMs just so that other people don't see it. I want unique ones. Okay. Okay, Ernesto has a question, just going back for it. Okay, so you initialize 3 rows. Yeah, what about it? Yeah. Yes, because that's the initial value of an integer. Yes. Okay. Yeah, so an array, when you give it a dimension but don't actually fill it with stuff, it fills it with default values. So right here, this initializes it. It's a matrix. It's a 2-dimensional matrix. So it's 5 rows. Each row contains a matrix. And the default value for a matrix is null. So that's why it's null. But then in 1-dimensional arrays, if you give it a dimension but don't fill the values, it does it to the default value, whatever type of matrix it is as well. This is an integer matrix. The default value for those is 0. So it initializes them all to 0. So Ernesto's question was just clarifying that. I got 1 answer for the extra credit for for question 4. What else do we got? I got 2. Oh, you can see them, can't you? I need 1 more. Oh. And that's 3. Okay, so we got 3 answers. The 3 of them are 3, 4. And that's also A, so 2 of them are that, and then 1 person for C. Okay, so with this in mind, 3, 4, C, so we kind of blocked out all those. Let's look what we got. So we got int 2-dimensional array equals new int 4, so that's got 4 rows. Uninitialized though, so they're all null at this point. Array 0 equals new int 2. So it's got 2 elements. Array 1 equals array 0. So these two are now connected. They're the same thing. 2 elements. Array 0, 0 equals 3. Array 1, 1 equals 4. And then for int I equals 0, I is less than array.length, I plus plus, system.out, array 0, I plus space. So yes, it would be 3, 4. So yeah, the key thing here, the way you can think about it, I kind of wrote it weird. Let me clear all drawings. So you can think about ARR, that array, as having 4 elements itself. So split it up into 4 chunks. And so then each of these chunks right here at array 0, we say new int 2. So like, let's say triangle. So like, let's say array 0 is triangle, and then triangle equals a 2-element array. And right here, when we say array 1 equals array 0, we're saying array 1 equals 0, and so both of them are triangle. And then here, when we say array 0, 0 equals 3, so 0 is triangle, 0 element of 0 is 3, and then 1, 1, 4 there. So there you go. That's some way some people like to think about it, with just like shapes instead of writing memory addresses, because memory addresses are really arbitrary, like we've seen. Just think about them as shapes when you're doing exam stuff. So that's just one way to think about it. All right. Clear. Go. Okay. Which of the following commands will stage your entire directory inside your current directory? So staging, I don't think we ever used that terminology. Git add. It's definitely not git add all. And the fact that there's 2 git adds make me think that it's the add, because there is a git add dot. So I think it's probably going to be git add dot, but I hope it's the commit. Here, something bad happened. My computer like died for a second. Let me just like pause. There we go. Share. There, is that better? Sorry, something happened with the internet. I'm on EDU Rome. I got no clue what's happening. Is that better, Evan? So for here, my personal guess based off of my test taking skills is that it's going to be git add dot, but I hope it's git commit. Oh yeah, solution that was D. So yeah, we talked about that, and then A, we talked about that. Yeah, okay. So my test taking skills 1, even though staging is not something I know of. So which of the following commands will stage your entire directory and every non-empty directory inside your current directory? So staging is before committing. Committing would be before pushing, and then pushing is like, this is complete. So that's fun. That happens automatically most of the time. You don't have, okay. I haven't used that command except for like when I first initialize it, but that's okay. So just know staging is the add command. There's no add all, it's add dot. Which of the following statements is not correct? The commit command is used to save your changes to the local repository. The commits are local until they are pushed. A clone operation makes a copy of a repository locally. A push operation pulls down any changes made to the remote repository. So one good thing, it's not always true. Sometimes we like to trick specifically by doing this, but one thing just to notice is that if you see two conflicting verbs, that usually means some shenanigans is going on. So the commit command is used to save changes to local repository. That's true. So you commit to your local one, so that commit early and often to make sure you have saves, so if you need to go back to a previous one, you can. But that doesn't push it to the remote one, because the remote one's kind of like the final version that's saving really big changes. So commits are local until they are pushed. That is true. And then a clone operation makes a copy of a repository locally. That's also true. That's you clone to get access to a remote repository so you can make changes to it. But yeah, and then a push operation pulls down any changes made to the remote repository. That's not true. A push operation pushes any changes on your remote repository to the on your local repository to the remote one, or a pull operation pulls down any changes made to the remote repository. So that's the bad one right there. What is the output of the following program? Yeah, I'm not going to have you guys do this. Public set, so just a main, try, catching every exception possible. So here, int num equals 4, num equals integer dot parse int interesting system dot out println num. So we have int num equals 4, so num is definitely an integer. It's even if there wasn't equal to 4, that doesn't matter. Here we say num equal integer dot parse int interesting. So integer dot parse int, you should know that takes in a string and returns the integer value associated with that string. Interesting is not an integer, so that would throw, I think it's like an input mismatch exception, but we don't. But it's definitely an exception F, but happened again, folks. We love EDU Roam. We love it so much. My internet is very shot. I got like two bars. Oh, it's back. Okay, I'm gonna pause it and stop it again. I wonder why this morning it's really bad. Maybe a lot of people are doing stuff. Okay. So then here, what is the operation? What gets printed out? B, something's wrong. So this section, the module 5 version control exceptions, there's definitely a lot of terminology going on in there, but there's also a little bit of the try, catch, and debugging stuff, so you need to know that as well. Okay. Module 6, classes. We have a class monkey that is defined as follows: name, height, and then just a basic constructor here. We define mutator methods to set the values of the name and height variables of a monkey object. The return type of the mutator or setter function for the height instance variable is. So mutator or setter, those are the same. It's mutator and setter are interchangeable, really. Mutator is more generic, setter is more specific, but same, it's basic thing. And when you're mutating something that's changing a value, you're not trying to get any information, so it's void. Okay, so a mutator, you're trying to change information, you're not trying to get information, so it has a return type of void. Ernesto said a mutator is like a function that bypasses the security type of a data type. Yes, that is one of the primary uses. If you have a if you have a member variable that is private, you can use a mutator to change it. But even if the data type is public, some people still want mutators just because it's a very standard concept. But yeah, that's the way to think about it. Okay. Down here, what is the output of the following code? Public class student, int grade, constructor with a G, grade equals G, public static void increase grades with an array of grades, a student object, and then a grade value. Sure, I'll go over that when I need to. Oh, this is just the output. Okay, so then main, so int grades equals 85, 80, 90. Student Bob equals new student grades 1. So that's constructed with 80 value there. Int grade X equals grade 2, so that's a 90. Increase grades, Bob, grade X. So in here, we've got this grades array. And so here says grade 0 plus equals 25. Remember, arrays are stored as memory addresses. So this is passing in a memory address. So here it's saying at that memory address, go to element 0 and add 25 to it. So now this is 110. And then student.grade 0 equals 100. Objects are passed as addresses as well. So this is a student object. Basically, if you see the new keyword, if you could see the new keyword, it's storing it as arrays, as addresses. So here we say student.grade equals 100. So that is changing the value of this grade. So now Bob has a value of 100. But then integers are not passed by address. They're not passed by reference. They're passed by copy. They're primitive. Any primitive data type is just passed by a copy. And so when we do, so grade X is the same. Okay, so when we print out, so it's not to print line grade 0, that did get added 25, so it's 110. Bob.grade, that was passed by reference, so this change does stick, so it's 100. And then grade X passed by a copy does not stick, so it's 90. So 110, 100, 90. If we go look. Oh, it's adding it together. Okay, so yeah, 110, 190 added together is 300. Whoops. Okay. So next, given the following class definition, hero has name, power, static hero count. So remember, static means it's not associated with any one hero object, but the entire class itself. You've seen static in like heifer generator. Public hero, it's constructor with 2 parameters, name and power, and it also increases hero count by 1. Public static void death decreases hero count by 1. What is the output of the following code? Public static void main, so Jim, Pam, Andy, so 3 heroes are made with those values. And then Jim.hero count minus minus, it is public because it's a public class. So you can, if you don't put a accessor here, it's public. That don't. But it's not associated with the specific hero object. What is? It's legal? Herp. That's not what I meant to do. Okay, sure, that's legal. So I guess you can still access it with the variable type if you want to. I guess that's the C++ limitation I'm thinking of. Okay, well, proved that that's valid. So just remember that for the future, and I will try to remember that for the future. So that is legal. And then if that was on an exam, I would have gotten that wrong. That's okay. So hero count got minus minus. New hero, Aaron death. Just death taken. Oh, death count. So this is -2. And then so system.println hero.count. So that's 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4. -2 is 2. Printing it out, it outputs 2. Does that make sense? 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 2. Prints it out. Prints out 2. I don't like that. That hurts me physically, but it is definitely legal. Oh, I'm on the solution one. It's right there. Whoops. Okay. Yep, here you go. What is the output of the following program? Public class Apple, private double wait, public Apple double wait. So that's a constructor that takes in one value. Public double get wait, return wait, public void set wait, int wait, wait equals wait. So it's got a getter and setter. It's just a wait value and has a constructor that sets that wait. And then in main, public static void Apple, Apple Fuji equals new Apple. That's an error. System.println Fuji.getWait, Fuji.setWait. So for one, I think it's going to be an error because it's right there. We use the default constructor, but so if this wasn't here, that code would be fine because you don't define any constructor, it defines a default one for you. But once you define one constructor, it's on you to define the rest. So that should be an error. D error, yeah. So that's an error right there. Now I'm gonna say, since we've run into one of the answers where it is an error, if you're gonna put error down as the answer, you better be damn sure. You better be 110% sure, because I'm telling you, there's only gonna be like 1, maybe 2 error ones. If they start throwing out like 4, and I'm lying to you now, then I'm so sorry. But I have found in my experience that putting error when it's not error is like more common than the other way around. Now, obviously, I only like, if you put error and it is an error, then it's graded as correct, so I don't have to go and check that. So it could just be a confirmation bias for me. But I have found that there are a fair number of people that get overzealous with error, and it's not true. Always put what you think is right, because if you put what you think is right and you can defend it and it's true, you will get the points. That is always true, because there have been times when we are wrong. We can definitely be wrong, and we'll give points back. So put what you know in your heart is correct, but just don't be crazy on giving things error unless you're sure. Like, honestly, I was sure about this one being error, and I would have like said maybe error. But since it wasn't multiple choice, that probably is a good sign that's not error. So probably would have caught myself there. But here, error is an answer. I knew that this was an error, so I said error. Okay. So question 5, this is the last one here. What is the output of the following program? So yeah, I hate ones that are like this. I hate that. I hate that so much. But you guys try it out. Give me some answers. I'll wait for 3 of them. Good luck. What do we got going on? The question, like, it wasn't even a yes. The statement was this word is like a reference to What inside? This keyword references the invoking object. That's what it is. So this keyword right here, in this case, the object that's getting constructed, it's saying the object that's getting constructed's weight. If this keyword wasn't there, then it would say the weight that's in the parameters right here, the most local scope weight. But since we put this dot weight, it's saying the weight associated with the invoking object. In this case, in the constructor, it's the object being constructed. Does that make sense? Okay, we got 1. 2, and they're the same, so that's probably a good sign. Oh, Ariana sent that to everyone. Whoops. How dare you, Ariana? You're fine. I mean, one more. Does anyone confirm Ariana and the second person's that's not revealed? Also, if the third person is John again, y'all aren't getting cookie points except for the 3 of them that have been answering. I guess I just spoiled who answered in the previous one, but. One more, people. You can do it. There's no trick question here. You got Ernesto. What? Oh. Mm-hmm. Oh. Are you saying it's 14-3? Okay, think about it if you want. And one more confident answer. We're just gonna sit here. There we go. And it's the same 3 people. Y'all, everyone else, be ashamed of yourselves. I'm allowed to say this. I'm a TA. I can say this. Y'all should be ashamed. We got 3 good cookies. Ariana's not even supposed to be here. She's carrying your asses. Get your shit together. What length, Ernesto? Where does there need to be a break? Where does there mean to be a new what? Oh, dude, that's fine, Ernest. Don't overthink that. In the exam, it won't be. Okay, so everyone that sent me a message was correct. It's 14-3. And because I appreciate them and their time, since they all got the same answer, I'm not going to go over it. Okay. Next, we got inheritance. Given the following class names, assuming they all have default constructors, class A, class B, class C, D, E, B extends A, C extends A, D extends C, E extends B. Okay, so that's what we got going on. Which of the following code are not allowed? So, oh my God, why do they have some that have this and then some? Oh my God, that is highly annoying. Okay, well, here. We got A, my class equals new A. That's correct. E, my class equals new E. Fine. What? Where? What? I love that. That's so great. Okay. Well, yep, no, that matches up with that. Okay, I'm not going to go over that one then, since it's got it all, like even in depth here, and the answers are already there. Clear all. Here we go. What is the output of the above program? Public class fish. It's got a weight. Got a swim function. Public class salmon extends fish. It's got a home. It's got its own swim function. And then it's got a speed swim. This is public. Okay, so public class main, public static void. Fish, fish equals new fish. Salmon, salmon equals new fish. Fish, Mike equals new salmon. Salmon.swim, Mike.swim, Mike.swim. So fish class is defined in the fish.java, salmon class is defined in the salmon.java, main class defined. Okay, sure. What is the output of the above program? So salmon.swim, that's a basic. So salmon is a salmon object. So that one is splish splash. Mike.swim, Mike is a fish object. And so it'll do this swim, so it'll do splash. Mike with swim with the parameter, it is technically a salmon object, so it'll try to do that here. So do swimming at speed miles per hour. So I'm gonna say it's splish, splash, splash, swimming at speed miles per hour. Can I get an answer, please? Compile, oh my fucking hate everything. I hate questions that are, what is the output of the above program, and then error. Oh, and I was even wrong about that, because I guess only this part is compiler error. Fuck, I hate everything. Okay, so the answer for why that happened, so I was even wrong about this. So salmon is a salmon object. Does a salmon object have a swim function? Yes. And so it can compile correctly. Mike is a fish object. Does a fish object have a swim function? Yes. But at compile time, Mike is a salmon object, and so it calls the salmon swim function. Here, swim with an integer. Mike is a fish object. Does fish objects have a swim function with an integer? Nope. So that's why it's an error. Even salmon, at compile time, it's a fish. So it's that key distinction, which I've fucked up, because who would ever write code that looks like this? Don't worry about it. But you guys have to remember it. So it's the difference between compile time and runtime. So at compile time, you check by what object they are. At runtime, you checked what they're set equal to. I got something in the chat. So do you ever actually code? I have seen it in like a real scenario where it was an array of fish objects, and some of them were fish and some of them were salmon. So not that explicitly, but just like an array of fish objects with some of them being fish, some of them being salmon. And that would be a different compile time versus runtime concept. So, yeah, but fish is also like both of them are classes, but in the case of salmon, yes, fish is a superclass and salmon's derived, yeah. But so yeah, Ariana, that does happen every once in a while. And the question in part, not you're bad with questions. You say statements as questions. So Ernesto said that in this case, fish is a superclass and salmon is the derived class. Yes, you can think for salmon, it does extend fish. So fish is a superclass in that case, and then salmon is a derived class. So yes. Okay. Here we go. Predict the output of the numbered lines in the main method, 1, 2, etc. Write proper line for each line would cause an error, assume the program continue right. I hate that. Oh my god, I hate this class's exams. So many freaking error shit. So much. Okay. So public class student person, computer science, okay, person, print type, okay. Student extends person, this is person, person's where the main is, okay. Okay. So we got person A, person B, object C, person's a person, person's a student, object as a student, okay. So A dot print type, normal person, that's valid. B dot print type, B is a student, print type is in person, but so it does have so B is a person does have print type. When it actually does it though, prints out student. So it's normal person, student. Oh god, I have to like write this all out, don't I? 1, normal person, 2, student, 3. Oh my gosh, there's so much going on here. Why would someone write this question? Okay, so casting A to a student dot print major, that's an error. You can't cast that way. Yeah, you can't downcast like that. So I'm going to say that's an error. But I could just be wrong and I can't check it as I go because I want to answer this whole question. Okay, so 3, print type, B is a person, so that's fine, but it's assigned to a student. So print type is student. 4, B print major, that's an error because B person doesn't have that function. 5, cast B to a student print major. Is that legal because it's a student at runtime? So it checks at runtime if that's legal. I hate that should be, yeah, I think it's a checks at runtime if it was a student, so that's legal. Major is, what's that, computer science. 6, C dot print type, C is object. Object doesn't have a print type function, so that's an error. 7, same thing, error. Casting C to a person. Persons have a print type function, so that's fine. But then when we actually call it, it's a student object, so print type would be student. 9, students have a print type, it's student. 10, persons do not have a print major, so that's error. Oh my god. 11, students do a print major, so CS. 12, settings D to a new student, holy crap. Oh, new person. Okay, so nothing gets printed out there because unless there's no constructor output. Okay, let's go look at it. And I'm probably gonna be wrong on some of this. Normal person, error, student. Error. Oh God, red with red. Why did I pick red? 5, computer science. 6, error. Yes. 7, error. Yes. 8, student. Yes. 9, student. Yes. 10, error. Awesome. 11, computer science. 12, error. Oh, it's not just, oh my God. So student D equals new person. Okay, so yeah, since it's a student, D is a student object. If D was a person object, it can be assigned to a student, but a student object cannot be assigned to a person. So yes, that is error. God, I do not like this question. But yeah, explaining it, it goes back to the concept of runtime versus compile time. So at compile time, you're just checking to see if the function exists. So all of these at compile time, person, 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 person. Well, actually, when it casts, it does the opposite. It's because when you cast, that fucks it up too. So this is object, 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 student, and then here casting to student. Here casting to student, casting to person, student, person, student. And so here, can you cast A to the student? So, well, when like actually checking if the function exists, you use the thing here, back it up. So will it compile? You do, yep, person has a print type, student has a print major, person has a print type, person does not have a print major, student has a print major, objects don't, person has print type, student has print type, person does not have print major, this is the student does have print major. So that's what you're checking for compile time. And then you also have to do a runtime check. So for anything that didn't already fart out because of compile time stuff, so this is bad, that was bad, person, print type, that was bad, whatever was bad at runtime, whatever was good at runtime, now you have to check it again to see if it's good at compile time. And so then at compile time, you can't cast A to a student, so that's no. Question? At this moment, yes. Yes. So the question was about casting and just what casting does. So casting says at this moment, think of it as this new object type. Okay, so it's just at that moment. So after we cast A, but just at that specific moment, it's a student. But so yeah, again, you do the compile time, checking to see if that function exists for the class that it says it is. And then at runtime, is it actually that class that it says it is? And does that class have that function? Yes or no? So that's a little wonky. And with the error, it's extra wonky, but good to keep track. Here we go. What is the output of the following program? Class grandparent, parent extends grandparent, child extends parent, class constructor demo, and then void main child equals new child 18. So we got child object equals new child 18. In here, does system out.println child constructor, but it's age, so it's system.out.println child constructor set up age, so it's this one. And then with classes that extend another class, it calls a constructor. If you don't use the super keyword, it calls the default constructor. So this calls the parent default constructor here. We got parent. So parent constructor by default because it doesn't have an age. So just as this one. And then here, this default constructor, since there's no super keyword, calls this constructor. So if we go to the solution, grandparent constructor, parent constructor, child constructor, setup age. Oh, the order is definitely important. So the constructing of the extended class does happen first. Sorry, I didn't specify that when doing it. But yes, the construction of the extended class has to happen first. So in here, before this even runs this line, it calls the parent default constructor. And here, before the first line, it calls the grandparent default constructor. So it runs this. That is very important. Yeah, that one I'm not mad about. That one I knew. I just didn't specify it. Very sorry about that. If grandparent does not have a constructor to set up age, why not compiler error? Well, the parent does, but it's the default constructor is what's being called. So even though the parent has the one to set up the age, the default the parent constructor is what's actually being called here. So if we had put super age and then here super age, that would have been a compiler error, Ariana. So that would have caused compiler error, but because we didn't do that, it's just calling the default constructor. And it does have a default constructor, so no constructor to set up age was needed. So we don't even need this. That could be gone as well. Yes, perfect. Okay, so going here, yes, here, scroll down. So got it, okay. What is the output of the following program? Public class animal, it's got a little print there. Public class dog extends animal, it's got its own print. It's got another print with a name. Public class animals, public static void main, animal doggo equals new dog, doggo.print Carl. So what is the output of the following program? Remember the whole compile time? This was the hard one. Holy crap, this one puts you through the ringer. So if you can get that one, you got the rest. But here, we got animal doggo equals new dog, dog.print Carl. So what is the output? Well, in compile time, doggo is an animal, doggo.print Carl. Animal does not have a print with a string function there. So I'm going to say it's an error. Man, this has been an error freaking heavy section. D error. Yeah, okay. God damn, this practice exam has errors, Blue. Okay. So yeah, it's an error because here it's an animal object. And then since doggo is an animal object, at compile time, we check to see if animal object is a print with a string, and it does not. Okay, I think this is the last one, question 6. Yep. So I'm gonna have you guys do this one. Assume that the following, so you guys do this one. I'll need 3 answers. So the following classes are valid, the following statement is declared. Which of the following would be the correct way to check the class member of Apple Fuji? Okay, so yeah, this is kind of a shitty question just because it's a memorization. So which one of these is the correct keyword? So it's the correct way to check the class membership. So if we're saying, if we put like system.out.println and then put this in there, which one of these would return true or false correctly? Can multiple, here, I'm gonna stop sharing for a second. I wanna see if it's a multiple answer question. Oh, you can still see it, shit. Okay. So yeah, it is a multiple answer question. So multiple of these are correct, all right. So instead of saying which ones are right and which ones are wrong, just tell me what is the correct keyword. Actually, it's not correct. Yeah. So tell me 8. So give me the numbers that are the letter, the like A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Multiple of them are correct. Just because if you put system.out.println, would it return true or false? And would that true or false accurately tell you the class membership of the Fuji object? Yes. Instance space of and instance no space of is different. Okay, got one answer. Okay, what is that? Okay, so that one is what we're thinking right now. Don't think too hard on this one, guys. If you want to Google it, that's fine, but I would honestly just stick with your gut on this one. If it's a memorization question, I won't be explaining too much at the end of this. I'll just basically be like, this is the correct way to check it or not. Okay, I got 2 answers. One more. Have 3 answers. They're all different, so I'm going to just cover this one for a second. Evan, you got kicked off your spot. Okay. One is B, D. Next one is A, C, E, F, and the other one is A, C, E. With that, I am going to go over to IntelliJ and just do int var1 equals 1. And so then here, system.out.println. And what we have here, the different things we want to check to see what it is. You do var1 instance of one word int. Oh God, why did I get it? It's not like that. Is it not instance of? Oh, what's the correct answer? I don't even know what the correct answer is. I thought it was that. Whoops, daisy. It was just a memorization. So it's B. So it was B. What is it yelling at me about? So yeah, the correct answer is B and D. For 1, you can narrow down E and F just flat out, because those are checking to see like if the this is nothing in here is the word Fuji. So those you can cancel out real quick. Sorry for the 2 of you that gave me those 2 answers. Yes. It's saying which of the following would be the correct way to check the class membership of actual Fuji. It is assumed there's like in code. Yes. Okay, so yes, it is assuming in code because there is an instance of function, but I'm using it wrong. And I'll figure out how I'm using it wrong. I've got herp. So if I do herp var1 herp instance of herp. Is that better? var1 instance of herp. Why are you mad at me? What the hell? Oh yeah, okay. That's fine. That's saying it's redundant. I'm okay with redundant. Sure. Awesome. Because here then you could say object, and that'd be fine. Yeah. So instance of is the correct keyword, no space. So when you're checking class membership, you want to see that instance of keyword, not is in, not is and, not instance space of, not extends. And then to checking instance of, it's Fuji is an instance of Apple. Fuji is also an instance of object because it all words, all classes are an extension of the object class. That's just true for everything. So you might not have known that as well. But yeah, instance of no space is the keyword you're looking for. That's just a fact you're gonna have to memorize for checking class membership. And then I bet instance of Fuji would have been good because that just returns false. So that would have been fine, but they didn't put that there. But okay. Cool. Lastly here, coding. Reversing an array is a common task. Write a function that reverses the given integer array. The function header for the method is as follows. So again, like whenever we tell you to write a function, don't put scanners. I've never seen a question that was telling you to write a function that said scanners, that you needed a scanner anywhere. Do not take that. Same thing with classes. If we say classes and that like write a constructor that takes in an integer and a string or whatever, that's not with the scanner, that's with parameters. But okay, so reversing, so like last time, I'm not going to actually write the code. I'm just going to write what you should be thinking about because there's many different ways to give the solution. But reversing an array is a common task. Write a function that reverses the given integer array. The function header for the method is as follows. Example, before calling the reverse function, after calling the reverse function. Okay. So for one, you're definitely going to need at least one loop. And when we're working with loops, the correct answer is to have for loops. Working with loops and arrays, the correct answer is for loops. So you'll want to be thinking for loops. There's one tricky bit here, and that if you just tried to reverse this with like a for I, like a basic I, 0, I is less than length, yada, yada, yada. And did array I equals array length minus I minus 1, something like that. This would be like the reverse. You would end up with, you would say 1 equals 5, 2 equals 4, 3 equals 3, and then here equals 4, and this equals 5. Because you're putting this to here, this to here, this stays the same. But then this new value goes to here, and this new value goes to here. So one thing about reversing is you're going to want a temporary array. So yeah, you're going to want to make some sort of temporary array. And don't just do temp equals ARR, because that's a shallow copy. And you don't know about shallow copies. But that just copies the address. And so now any changes to temp happen to ARR. You want to do something like temp equals new. New is the important part. Int array. Get rid of that. Int array dot length. So something like that. That's good. But yeah, something like that to create a new temporary thing and then store the reverse of array in temp. But there's nothing, it's void, we're not returning anything. You need to change array itself. So then do the same thing, but applying temp to array. And so if you reverse array and store that in temp, then you just need to apply one-to-one temp I equals array, or other way around. If you reverse it as you store it, then in the end, you just need to do array I equals temp I. Or if you just copy array into temp without reversing it, then you need to actually reverse it in the step. But one of those two steps need to be reversed. So this is probably going to require 2 for loops. So 2 for loops, temp array, and then think about what the reversing algorithm is. I think, yeah, I wrote it like right there, but it's still a good idea just to think about it. Yeah, no class creation required, no main required, just it's asking for a function, just write the function. Okay, here we go. A common statistic of interest is the longest sequence of some pattern in a list of items. For example, in football, one may be interested in the longest sequence of consecutive completed passes. Given an array of strings in which an item is either the letter I for an incomplete pass or a number for a completed pass, output the length of the longest sequence of completed passes, write a method that takes in an array of strings and returns the longest sequence. Which has as follows examples. Input is 4, 15, 9, I, 3, 2, I, 20. Return value is 3 because the longest sequence of passes is 4, 15, 9. So there's a couple ways you could write this. I don't know what they're specifically going for, how much error checking they need. I'm gonna go look at the solution real quick just to see how much error checking they assume that you guys will be doing. I'm hoping it's none, and I don't care. But if they're doing a try catch, then I'm gonna cry a little bit. Okay, cool. Yeah, no, they unless they specify, they actually did the exact same thing I wanted to do. Unless we specify that there could be some invalid input, which I could honestly see this question being if it's not a number or I, then like throw an error or something. But since we never specify error checking, you can just check for I values. So if it's either going to be I or a number. So if you find an I, then restart. So for this, you're definitely going to want one for loop. Yes. Okay, so for this, you want a for loop going through each element of this, or estimate the point that this is similar to RLE stuff. Yes. We expect that you've done the projects in the labs and stuff, so hopefully that will help you in doing this. Here, just go through each element and do something like you're gonna need if statements. If else is probably all you're gonna need. And then in here, you can just check to see if the list items I dot equals something. In this case, if you did dot equals or equals equals, I would probably give you it either way, even though for strings, you shouldn't use equals equals, you should use dot equals. But you could either do dot equals I or doesn't equal. So exclamation mark doesn't equal I, you could do if statement. And else, but then something to keep track of the number in row. So you could have like num row, and then either in the if statement or in the else statement, so that it's a 0, depending on what you're using to stop it. But yeah, if you're checking to see when you hit an I with the if statement, so if the thing equals I, then in here you would set it equal to 0, and here you do plus plus. If you're checking to see if it's not equal to I, then these two would just be reversed. But that kind of thing. Okay. Given two integers that represent the miles to drive forward and the miles to drive in reverse, this user inputs create a simple car object that performs the following operations. Given two integers that represent the miles to drive forward and the miles to drive in reverse, this user inputs create a simple car. Honks the horn, reports car status. The only programming inputs the scanner and for a simple car, new simple car. Oh my god. Okay, so at this right here, so we don't tell you everything that needs to go into the simple car class, but we tell you right here in this block of code everything that happens. Oh my god, stop. So yeah, we tell you in here everything that needs to happen. So with this, what happens with it? So you're writing the simple car class. There's only a default constructor. So you could either write a default constructor or just not write one at all. That's totally fine. And then in here, there's a drive, there's a reverse, there's a honk horn, and there's report. So doing two operation program. Main class and some car provides below. If input is, the output is beep beep. Car has driven 96 miles. Okay, so then in the report, so here we see the honk horn function does a little beep beep, and then the report prints out car has driven a number of miles. So that means we need to keep track of this inside our car class. So with all of that said, we got simple car. And it's a class, all right, class. And then here's some sort of int to keep track of the mileage. So with those inputted stuff, and then the mileage was down there somewhere. You could have a constructor, you don't have to, but it would just be the default one. So really, because it's starting at 0, integers start at 0 anyway, so you don't really need that if you don't want to. And then you have to implement these functions with their respective, it doesn't look like any of these things return, so it could all be void. If they return something, then you might have an int or whatever, but they don't. And then, yeah, forward adds that to your mileage, reverse subtracts that for your mileage. Honk orange just prints out beep beep, and then report prints out car has driven colon, and then the integer colon space the integer, and then space miles. It's not that super fancy there. Even if we don't give you a main, if we told you to do this and didn't give you a main, don't write a main. Don't write a main, don't write a scanner. Like, this is written for you, so that's different. But if you're just writing a class, just write the class. No scanner, no main, whatever functions you need, but that's it. Okay, so that's everything here. I think we have, what, like 30 minutes left till the end of lab? So if anyone has any more questions about the exam, feel free. I'll also take, what's up? Okay. If you have any questions about the exam, feel free. If you have any questions about the lab due tonight, that's fair game as well. But if not, y'all are free to go. My pleasure, John. Have a wonderful rest of your day.